The Alienware AW2518HF is a gaming monitor with a crazy high 240Hz refresh rate, 1 millisecond response time, and AMD's FreeSync. So let's check it out and find out if it's a monitor you should consider. The monitor has a 24.5-inch display with a 16:9 aspect ratio and runs with a 1080p resolution, so 1920 by 1080, fairly standard. Now here's where things get really interesting. The TN panel runs with a 240Hz refresh rate, has a 1 millisecond grey-to-grey response time, and features AMD's FreeSync, making it perfect for gaming. As it's got FreeSync, you'll need an AMD graphics card to take advantage of this. Unfortunately, I've only got Nvidia cards here, so I wasn't able to test that out myself. However, the non-F version is basically the same, but comes with G-Sync rather than FreeSync. Though it does cost a bit more, as is typical with G-Sync monitors. As mentioned, it's using a TN panel, so it's going to look best directly front on. Dell list the viewing angles as 170 degrees horizontally and 160 degrees vertically. Looking side to side, I didn't notice much of a change. Even from above it was mostly fine. It was only really bad when looking from underneath, but that's pretty standard with TN panels. In terms of color gamut, I could only find these ones listed, and unfortunately my Spider 5 Pro doesn't test most of these. So I've performed my own testing, which resulted in 96% of sRGB, 71% of NTSC, and 75% of Adobe RGB. So it's actually pretty decent for a monitor that's primarily designed for gaming. I'd happily use it for content creation. The panel also has a peak brightness of 400 nits, and with my own measurements found that it went up to 450 nits with a brightness of 100%. So it gets fairly bright, and has a 1000:1 contrast ratio. I've also performed my usual backlight bleed test, which involves having the screen completely black in a dark room to help emphasize any bleeding. I then take a long exposure photo to display any bleed, so this is a worst case scenario test. As you can see here, it was basically fine in this regard, although this will of course vary between monitors. With the UFO test, I wasn't able to see ghosting myself, but I feel like I'm not very sensitive to it. I've recorded this at 180 FPS, which is as high as my camera goes, so not quite the full 240 of the display, but hopefully enough for you to see for yourself. It's not all about the panel though, although 240Hz is pretty impressive. Taking a look at the rest of the monitor, the stand has solid black metal legs, while the rest of it has a silver matte plastic cover featuring some subtle Alienware branding. And down the bottom of the stand there's a hole for cable management. The stand feels really sturdy, and even if I bump my desk it only wobbles a little. The bezels are fairly thin, at around 6mm or so based on my own measurements. The stand can also easily be removed if you plan on using the 100mm VESA mount instead. The on-screen display was pretty easy to use and navigate through. All of the buttons are found on the right hand side underneath the panel. The I/O is on the back toward the bottom and faces down. From left to right there's the power input, HDMI 2.0 port, audio line out, second HDMI 2.0 port, DisplayPort 1.2, and USB 3.0 Type-B input, which you connect to your computer to make use of the following two USB 3.0 Type-A ports. Once you're done with the I/O, you can optionally place this grey plastic cover over the back to tidy it up a bit. On the very bottom of the panel, there's a 3.5mm headphone jack and two more USB 3.0 Type-A ports as part of the USB hub. To actually use the 240Hz refresh rate, make sure your graphics card supports at least HDMI 2.0 or DisplayPort 1.2, as these are required to actually drive 1080p at 240Hz. As for the included cables, you get an HDMI cable, USB cable to make use of the USB hub, and of course power cable, no external power brick needed here. The weight of the panel itself is 3.38 kilos, while the weight of the stand by itself is almost as much at 3.22 kilos. Like I mentioned earlier, it's a very sturdy stand. As for the dimensions, here's what we're looking at for the panel itself, and here's how that changes with the stand attached and fully extended. For the adjustments, there's -5 to 25 degrees of tilt, 20 degrees of swivel in both directions, and 90 degrees of pivot in both directions, as well as up to 130mm of height adjustment, and it will easily stay where you leave it. So far, the monitor looks pretty good, but how was it to actually use day to day? As expected, while playing games where I was actually able to get high enough frame rates, everything looked really smooth. For example, playing Overwatch on low settings with my Nvidia 1080 was getting around 250 FPS. Other games like CSGO would be no problem though, especially if you drop down to lower resolutions. So it really depends on the game, setting level used, and your PC hardware. But generally you'll want pretty decent hardware to be able to run even less demanding games at 240 FPS. Realistically, in AAA games you won't be getting anywhere near 240 FPS even with the best graphics cards currently available. However, less demanding games and esports titles like CSGO and Overwatch would actually be able to make use of it. As for the difference between this and 144Hz, I think I can just barely notice the difference. It's quite slight and nowhere near as obvious as going from say 60Hz to 144Hz though. So a monitor like this is probably mainly for people playing competitively, where the difference actually matters, or if you want to do whatever you can to get the edge over your opponent. I've also used the monitor to edit some recent videos too, and as shown before, the color gamut isn't too bad. To my eyes, it definitely looked good enough to get the job done, so no problems there. You can definitely use it for more than just gaming. As for the price, it's going for around 700 Australian dollars here in Australia, or around 350 US dollars while on sale in the US. There are cheaper 240Hz panels available out there, but also more expensive options, so it depends on the features you're after. But this one has quite a few, and is overall built really well. So what did you guys think about the AW2518HF gaming monitor from Alienware? This is by far the highest refresh rate display I've ever tested, and it was quite impressive. If you're looking at taking your gaming to the next level, then it's definitely worth considering. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and leave a like to let me know if you found the review useful. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for future tech videos like this one.